Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, together with my co-host Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechphilly.com. And as you can see here, weekly columnist for the Jewish press.
Right, and I'm having a lot of fun doing all of that. In my column, I write about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. So with us today, speaking of government, is an Albany County legislator, newly elected, Mark Grimm.
Nice to be with you both. Shalom.
We had your brother on the show.
Yeah, fine gentleman.
But just the opposite of you.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
You're a Republican, he's a Democrat.
I know, but you know,
probably like vanilla, he probably likes chocolate.
No, it's interesting. You know, if we had to sit down and hammer out some compromises, we could do it, which is really how Congress should work, because there are a lot of common values that we share.
Yeah.
And you know, I certainly could work things out with my brother, and that's really how the way things should.
Well,
work.
He's the minority leader of the Rensselaer County Legislature. So, do you strive one day to be the minority leader of the Albany County Legislature?
He's a Democrat in a Republican legislature. I'm a Republican in a Democrat legislature.
Right.
You know, I just want to represent my constituents the best I can, and you know, I have a lot going on in my life.
Now, you were also on the Guilderland Town Council.
I was on the town board from 2008 through 2011.
Now that you're in the county legislature, are you living the dream? Is this everything you thought it would be?
No, well, it's a chance. You can make a difference. People are cynical about politics, and there's a lot of reasons to be cynical, because people a lot of times have their own agendas. But if you really work hard and do your homework and stick up for people, you can make a difference. I made a difference on the town board, and I like to think I'm starting to make a difference on the county legislature. Okay,
so what was your most controversial moment in the county legislature in the past 6 months or so?
I would say I proposed a bill to open up the government so more people are involved. Because one of the things, I went to every street in my district twice in running, and you know, it's a small district, and I couldn't find 3 people that knew what the county legislature actually did.
Right.
I said, well, that's the problem right there. So I wanted to create a hashtag for every meeting. A hashtag means it's a word label where you can go to that communication online and be part of the participation. They were against that. So my proposal, some of the old-timers are still a little nervous about social media. But
a couple of them don't even have emails.
Well, that's what I've heard. I mean,
Gil Ethia does not do email.
I think
Frank Camiso doesn't do email.
He might have one now, or at least his office does, or something like that. But plus I wanted to publicize it. Now we are online, which something I've wanted for a long time. We're online. But because it's on demand, I want the files to be placed so you can get to it. If you've got a spouse and 3 kids and a couple of jobs, you can't stop and watch the county legislature meeting, but there may be a time when you can get to it. So this, viewing on demand is what the 21st century is about, and now I can say the county legislature.
And you're right, which is why Channel Albany is going to be on demand also. And we're going to have the county legislature meetings, so we'll see who gets higher ratings.
Oh yeah, Well, you have to promote it. That's another thing, Mark. They don't promote it. You have to. Hey, people don't even know this, and I'm trying to do it on my own. But the legislature should be doing that as a body.
This is why you need a newsletter to go out to your constituents.
Well. It's funny. I have a Facebook page, and I have a Twitter page, and I don't think you need a newsletter. If you're really good with those, you're keeping people up to date. So the newsletter is sort of the old way of doing things. It's a kind of a hangover. I don't have a newsletter even in my business because I feel like I'm keeping people up to date on a continual basis. I don't need to give them a newsletter every 2 months and tell them what I already told them.
I just want to say little kudos to what we're trying to do here on the Jewish View. I think we've brought in practically every Albany, well, we try at least, every Albany County legislature, Albany County City Council, and Assemblyman and Senator, just because, just even matter of fact that I just think it's, in a way, it's appalling that people, we're a democratic country. Maybe as a Jewish person, I'm a little sensitive because Jewish people in Europe, talking 100 years ago, never had the right to vote and participate. And, we were just brought up as saying, hey, you're in America, you vote. And you participate, and you know what's happening because it's really we feel the privilege. And people, when I see a polling, they don't know who the vice president is, and let alone their Albany County legislator. And hey, it's important to know what you're voting for and who you're voting. Just to vote, 50% of people usually don't even vote on major elections. So that's a little bit what we're trying to do here is just presenting to the people. you know,
and that's
what's
a good
there.
service, which I appreciate. I really feel my job is to educate, and I'm an educator. I'm a trainer by profession. I was an adjunct professor for 11 years. I want to educate at Siena and St. Rose, and I want to educate people about what's going on. That's when they get more interested, and that's when they get more likely to vote. I find in local elections where you have to drag them to the polls, they don't vote because they don't know what's going on. But I like to think my constituents, because I've been at their doors so many times, they're starting to pick up on what Mark Grimm is up to. And but that's a lot of politicians. They don't necessarily want everyone to know what's going on.
That's right.
Because they only want you to know, the good news of what they're doing. They're raising taxes. They're not. Transparency is not such an issue then.
And one thing I wanted to ask you about is when you go door to door and you visit with people, do you ask them for an email address so then you can stay in touch and do an email blast when there might be an emergency or something that maybe the town doesn't do that you want to take credit for, that you want to do as a service and heighten your profile also? Because as a motivational speaker, in the business that you're in the private sector, you got to promote yourself because no one else is going to do it for you.
Well, I think, but informing people on a continual basis is good promotion. I'm not someone so much into, quote, self-promotion. Rather, if you provide value, which is what social media is about, it's wonderful that we have all this access, but the flip side, the bad part of that, it's wonderful we have all this access because a lot of people post stuff that doesn't get read. So you have to give them value, and do I try to get emails? Yeah, but people are very guarded because they're so bombarded, Mark, with emails.
Right.
That's the last thing.
Well, what I do is I set up a Gmail account for every specific thing so that I channel my emails to certain places. So, you would only have my professional email, let's say, for your news releases. But if I want to communicate with you personally, you'll have my personal email address. So I do keep it channeled. Yeah,
the thing about email is point-to-point communication.
Yes.
What you really want to develop is social media so they can not only get information from us, they can weigh in and say this is, in fact, we've had a couple of controversies, like Smoking 21 came up.
Yes.
And I posted on that, and there were, I think 38 people shared it to all their friends, so 2,200 people viewed. Hey, if you want to speak out on this, here's where you go on the county ledge this night and that kind of thing.
And 3 people showed up.
And the typical, all the special interests were there. There were 2 kids from Albany showed up. They're the only kids that weren't, part of one group or another.
That's right.
But that's my point, though. People are not paying attention. And
so what was your view on the 21?
Well, I did my homework, and I realized, well, how do we get, smoking is terrible, how do we get people to stop? Youth education. Right. We know that works.
Did you vote for
I voted no because I don't believe raising the age to 21 is the solution. In fact, we have evidence that suggests otherwise. The evidence is youth education and cessation programs, helping people quit who want to quit. They're the 2 drivers in smoking health. We know that because we've seen it work again and again, and that ought to be our focus, not stripping a military man from the right to smoke when he goes back.
I always say that, it's something in the Bible, I got to put something Jewish in from the Jewish view.
Sure.
But that there's one age where they say you're 20 years old, you go out to the army, you're counted as a real adult person. I know there's bar mitzvah, but at 20 years old, you're full adult. And, that was with the argument in the 60s. You send the guy to Vietnam with a machine gun, kill people, but you can't, you don't let me even have my representative. Or, like you say, go to the army, here's your machine gun, go to Afghanistan and kill someone. Don't take a beer. You're not mature enough to drink a beer. Come on, it's like...
And what really frustrates me, it is about rights. Because what's the downside? The downside is you're stripping people of rights. That's a downside. But secondly, it takes the attention away from what really matters, and that's youth education and cessation.
But when you talk about these, when these people in general focus on the war versus drinking and smoking, I mean, you're not going to war in Albany County. You're going to war in Afghanistan. The laws that you're passing don't pertain to Afghanistan.
But they come back here.
They do, but
they
don't always...
In Guilderland, we've lost. In fact, we've had 3 highways named after people who were killed.
There you go. So they don't...
These are recently, these are Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah. So you'll hear the stories about
But they're going to be smoking and drinking overseas. They're going to come back here. They're going to be more mature. They're going to be able to find a way to smoke and drink. You don't have to make it easy. Look, you know that the robber is going to come into your home. That doesn't mean you have to leave the door wide open. You still have locks on your door. You make it difficult for them. So that's why I'm thinking if you raise the age, which the county executive did sign the bill into law to raise the age, that you would be able to you have more time for education, for the education programs to get them to that point where they can make a better decision at age 20.
Well, of course, you can also go to a neighboring county and buy them there too.
That's true. That's what I'm saying.
It really, if you're going to do it, you should do it on a statewide basis. This county by county doesn't make sense. What it does is just you lose revenue, frankly, to Schenectady and Rensselaer County, who, by the way, have not done it. So
well, it sounds good also, we're...
I mean, there's two sides to the argument, but, I'm comfortable with my vote. I think I did the right thing.
I just wanted to debate you on it.
No, it's good. No, because some say you're against public health if you vote. You heard the rhetoric, Mark. Like, we're against public health and we're for it. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You're pro-business.
It's just, what's the most sensible thing to do? And I really want to focus on the things that matter most, because too often in government, we're focused on things that aren't really the things that lead to resolution. And one of the things I've learned about government is, the campaigns are about fighting and about having a point of view. But at governing, that's about solutions. That's what people want from us. They want solutions. Right. And you have to be willing to compromise sometimes, but not your principles, but the techniques and the ways of getting to the solutions.
Okay. So let me ask you on your personal side about your work. I mean, you know all about broadcasting. You're one of our most polished guests that we've had on. And,
makes him a good politician. You can run for president like Ronald Reagan.
So I kind of wanted to talk to you to let the audience know about you as an individual, not just as an elected official, which you're doing now, and I presume you'll be doing for a long time. You got a 4-year contract for the people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you're there 6 months. But let's talk about who you are as an individual.
Yeah.
You graduated magna cum laude
from Siena. Yeah,
from
Siena. Siena grad. Yep.
That's wonderful. I mean, that's like, so.
Well, I did my homework. Easy. I mean, it's funny. When I was a kid, I used to go home and do my homework first, and then go out and play. That way, because I knew how to do the work anyway. I'm just one of those things, I really believe in homework. And I've seen all throughout my life, if I really did my homework, you had a really good chance of exceeding. And graduating magna cum laude was a great example of that. Kids were out partying, and I was out doing my term papers.
So where did you go to elementary?
I went to St. Patrick's in Troy, where all the Grimm kids, all 9 Grimm kids grew up.
Yeah.
And then we moved out, when I was in 7th grade, we moved out to the country, and I went to Hoosick Falls, which is having all the water trouble.
Did you test did you get a PFOA test?
We actually had our own well.
Oh, you had your own well?
So, I don't know, we weren't anywhere near the place. We were out, out in the country. But you never know what's in the water, and I've been following up on this. I went to Albany. One of the things I decided to do is try to go to every agency in the county. And I've spent a lot of time in the last 5 or 6 months visiting, but it's really been eye-opening. And I asked the health people, what about our water? And she said, well, tap water, people buy bottled water, but the bottled water requirements, they only require 20 things to test for.
Right.
Tap water, they require 200
things
to test for. Tap water is safer because it's more well-tested, yet people buy bottled water.
I have to tell you, I worked for Water Technology magazine. And I never thought cryptosporidium and giardia would be my vocabulary. But
pretty sexy stuff there, pal.
But when I was working there, I realized that the bottled water is regulated by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Tap water is regulated by the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. So the parts per billion of contaminants that they allow for the bottled water is much higher than the tap water.
Yep.
So I'm always drinking tap water.
Yep.
I'm never buying bottled water. And when I brought this up that we should do a story about this, they said, oh no, are you kidding? Tap water people don't buy advertising. It's the bottled water people that buy advertising from us. We do this story.
Yeah.
We're going to lose a lot of advertising.
Yeah.
We can't touch that story.
Yeah, tap water is safer because it's tested.
But it is safer, and they allow fewer parts per billion of contaminants. So I'm forever drinking, tap water, and people.
It's a lot cheaper also.
Plus the bottles are a terrible environmental issue. There's so many bottles of water.
That's right.
The plastic is kind of.
Not only that, my daughter just so. And in case some of my kids are into, you got to have bottled water. All right, I'll buy bottled water. So I also bought a bottled water. So I was going somewhere and I got thirsty, and so I left it in the car and it's hot. Mm-hmm. And then she says to me, "You can't drink it." I says, "What's wrong?" I didn't even open it. She says, "What could be wrong?" She says, "Well, the plastic gets too hot. They say it's no good." I said, "Leave me alone over here."
Well, since we're talking.